analyst. Good afternoon, Dr. Chérif.
Good afternoon.
Dr. Chérif, a delegation of Libyan MPs has arrived in Cairo to participate in the meeting organized by the Egyptian National Committee entrusted with helping Libyans reach a political solution. How do you see the significance of this gathering, and will it be a way out for the Libyan crisis?
Of course, such meetings are very important because as Egypt asserted from the beginning, we have to work on both fighting terrorism and bringing a political solution. One cannot deny the other. So this is the first point. The second point is that Egypt now, as long as the conflict taking place, Egypt is a guarantor of at least the minimum of stability that it won't spill out of the borders of Libya. And this is in the interest of all the region, especially the European countries on the Mediterranean Sea, like Italy and France. So this is very interesting that they are coming to Egypt, although there are some factions are not working according to let's say the national interests of Libya. They are working whether with Qatar or Turkey, but still I think that the fact that they're recognizing that Egypt has a main role in bringing a political settlement to this conflict, this is very important to highlight. I think that President Sisi is contacting his French and Italian counterparts regularly about the intervention in Libya, the foreign intervention that is taking place that damaged Libyan security, that it has to cease, that we have to help Field Marshal Khalifa Haftar in fighting terrorism. I think that all the contacts made by President Sisi, even with the German Chancellor Angela Merkel, it's very significant and has brought an important kind of realistic analysis of the situation in Libya. I think that all the factions now recognize that President Sisi and Egypt's diplomacy has a major role now. The fact they're gathering in Egypt, I think that things will be clear. Let's wait and see, because it's a long road. This war has started 8 years ago, and I hope that we will find a solution according to the security of Libya.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, sir, the committee will organize a 1 week long of national dialogue between Libyan MPs and politicians on internal conditions and the war against terrorism. How far does such gathering help in moving forward in the fight against terrorism and coordination of efforts and joining efforts and forces together to fight terrorism?
That's a very important question, because all the factions, the political factions, in Libya have to understand that there is no other way than bringing a political solution. The war in Libya has to stop, and fighting terrorism is one of the main obstacles now that the international community has to lift the embargo on the Libyan National Army, has to endorse Field Marshal Khalifa Haftar. This is exactly what Egypt aimed from the beginning, and we have the first step, which is Field Marshal Khalifa Haftar is recognized now as someone who's representing the Libyan people, and people are the international community is recognizing him. The second point is that arms flooding to Libya from Qatar and Turkey to the terrorist factions should stop, and sanctions should be put on the table if these countries finance terrorism. We cannot stand anymore that Egypt, Tunisia, Algeria, the bordering countries, and Chad, the bordering countries of Libya, will pay the price of these terrorist groups. It has to stop. Stability has to be brought into the table. The people of Libya deserve a new, better life. The oil fields have to be exploited according to the national interest of Libya. So I think that Egypt won't let down the Libyan people in supporting their ambition to to have stability and security.
Right. Dr. Chérif, what are the latest developments on the ground concerning the Libyan crisis?
Well, we have seen 2 days ago an assassination attempt against the life of the spokesman of the Libyan National Army, General Mismari, and they tried to kill him and kill several of his aides. Well, this means that still there are evil factions working on the ground there. Terrorist groups are trying to destabilize the liberation of the Libyan cities from the grip of the terrorist groups. But this is also a good sign, because it means that they are suffering from the new counterpart, the new war that is waged against terrorism in Libya. Field Marshal Khalifa Haftar made significant gains on the terrain. The Libyan National Army is being hailed by the people of Libya in every city they go in. The people are chanting for them, they are supporting them. Everyone wants to see the Libyan National Army taking control of the cities again. It's not in the interest of anyone to see foreign factions, and I repeat, foreign factions. They're not Libyans fighting against Libya's interests, against Egypt's interests, against Tunisia's interests, and Algeria's interests. They're fighting for other people outside states' interests. So the gains on the terrain are difficult, let's say it, but they are positive. It will take time, because these terrorist groups are highly financed, highly weaponized. They have weapons from every country financing them from the beginning. But the war will go on till the people of Libya regain their sovereignty with the help of Egypt, the Emirates, and all the peace-loving countries.
Mm-hmm. Well, as you said, Dr. Chérif, Egypt is keen that that Libya overcomes the crisis to establish the foundations of a stable and sovereign civil state. But how do you view the role Egypt is playing so far to end the Libyan crisis and its efforts to reach a settlement for the situation in Libya?
Egypt started this diplomatic campaign because we don't take part in any military effort with respect to the sovereignty of Libya. All our role is to protect our borders militarily, and we support the National Libyan Army in the expertise. If they ask for help of expertise and advice, we give them the advice. They're our brothers, and we want to share this with everyone to fight terrorism. So, but let's say that in the diplomatic field, we made a huge success, because I myself, when I was in France, I knew that the Major Field Marshal Khalifa Haftar was persona non grata, was not just well viewed, especially by the French. Egypt made contacts with the Élysée, made contacts with all the diplomatic branches in France. They changed their opinion about General Khalifa Haftar. They decided to meet him, and now he's recognized as the official representative of the Libyan people. And now he's also met by the Italian officials. He was refused from the beginning, but we made all the efforts. President Sisi explained the case of Libya, and this is the man that has to be helped, because he's fighting terrorism. He's not fighting anyone else but terrorist factions that are threatening Europe and threatening Egypt, Tunisia, and Algeria. So Egypt made a great success, diplomatic success, in convincing our European friends that we have to work with Major General Khalifa Haftar and with the Libyan army. So this is the importance of Egypt's diplomacy. The second part is that Egypt is giving all the support to the Libyan National Army on the advice. We exchange advice with all the countries in fighting terrorism. We are the head of the African Union, let's not forget that. So we have a duty towards Libya, who's a big African state. We are a leading country in the Arab League. Libya is a country in the Arab League. So we have all the commitments towards our brothers in Libya, who are Africans and Arabs. So this is natural that we are doing this job. And we have excellent relations with the EU. The question is, those who are interfering in Libya's affairs from outside, why they're doing that, and why the international community is not taking an action against them.
Right. Well, as you mentioned, sir, the Libyan crisis, Egypt is trying to help as much as it can, and through its presiding of the African Union, what role can Egypt play through its presidency over the African Union in supporting the Libyan crisis?
Well, the role is clear, is that we share the info about fighting terrorism. There is Boko Haram in Nigeria, there is Al-Shabaab in Somalia, and there is the Islamic State Daesh in Libya. So I think there's a common interest with all the African countries to share this kind of info. The second point is illegal immigration, because we have seen many of the African youth died in boats trying to reach the shores of Italy and the European Union. So we have to work together in fighting these mafias who are exploiting the misery of the African youth. And Egypt, when it represents Libya's case in the international community, it's in the name of the African Union. We have all the right of doing that, and we can share our views with our friends in Europe and in the international community about the importance of Libya as an African country who deserves security and sovereignty.
Right. Well, Egypt has long historic relations with its neighboring country, Libya. How do you view the Egyptian-Libyan relations under the presidency of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi?
Well, President el-Sisi is someone who studies very well history and the geopolitics of the region. So it's not a surprise that when he came, he tackled the file of Libya immediately. In his career, he worked on the borders with Libya as a military personnel there, as an officer there. So he understands very well the situation. We are lucky to have someone like him now in this conflict. It's important to gather the info, because this kind of war is different. It's a war of info, it's a war of rumors, and how to fight the financing of terrorism. So President Sisi is someone who is very keen that we make the following calculation. Respect the sovereignty of Libya. We have no interest in getting into any materialistic conflict there. We help the Libyan people because we have historical relations with them. We help the national army of Libya with an Arab army, with an African army, and this is the point of view of President Sisi. And what's amazing is that as a young charismatic leader, he reached out to the European counterpart, explained our point of view, and he succeeded in doing so. And this is where leadership plays a major role in such conflicts.
Right. Dr. Chérif, how do you assess the role of the international community with regards to the current situation in Libya?
The international community is reluctant. Let's say it clearly. They didn't wish to see the National Libyan Army taking an important role in this conflict. All the international community eyes were not on the people of Libya, rather on the oil of Libya. And this is the main problem, that the main point of view, the difference between Egypt and other countries, that we were eyeing the people of Libya, their sovereignty, their stability, their security. Because at the end of the story, the harm will be to Europe, will be to Egypt, to every country, if we neglect the people of Libya and focus only on the oil. So, but fortunately, we have friends in the international community who share our views. We're not alone. Egypt explained the views to
right.
With all the countries who resisted at the beginning as help in the national army of Libya. But we have allies like the Emirates. We have allies like Russia, with President Vladimir Putin, who understands very good the situation in the region, and he has close ties with President Sisi. Both of them, they understand what is being done to Libya, and that everyone is targeting only the riches of Libya. So the international community is pushing forward the stability plan, but very, very slowly. And we have to be patient. We have to be patient because when we talk about international community, we talk about several interests, not bilateral interests. It's a multinational interest. So we have to understand that. But the end would be for the Libyan people. I hope so.
Definitely. Right. Dr. Chérif AMIR, geopolitical analyst, many thanks for joining us and many thanks for your insight. Dear viewers, with this we come to the end of this edition of Africa Today. Many thanks for watching and stay tuned for more coming up here on NILE TV International.